Here, summer solstice. Although as Donna mentioned, she's like, oh, this is where the days start getting shorter.
Devastating.
Yeah,
Seconds less sunlight.
right? Yeah, we've got some beautiful weather, and beautiful, beautiful season ahead of us. So yeah, thanks for being here. Every hour on the hour, we have a different presentation. It's a real variety show. And right now, flower power. Yeah. Flower essences specifically. So yeah, really excited to hear from Laura Pasacreta. Yes, amazing person doing some incredible work. So if you don't know flower essences, you're going to get to know what they are, get to experience them, and learn about some of the incredible formulations that she's done, where she sourced them. And, yeah, looking forward to it. So, great, thanks for being here, Laura. Yeah, I'll let you take it over. She's got a PowerPoint, so that'll kind of flip on whenever you're ready. Yeah, we'll have time for questions, and we'll go till 1:45, then another little break. So, perfect.
Not super techy.
We are. Great.
Whenever it works, I'm like, yes. Okay, welcome to Flower Power. So we're gonna learn all about flower essences today. Is anyone brand new to flower essences? Okay.
I've heard of them, but don't know much.
Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a little background on how flower essences work. They're so fascinating and I'm so passionate about them. And I'm going to watch the time so that I don't go over. But I am, let's see how this works. Next slide. Okay.
You got it.
Got it. I got it. Figured it out. Okay. So I own and operate Bear Energetics, which I opened in 2015. I'm a trained herbalist and flower essence therapist out of the Northern Stars College of Mystical Studies in Edmonton, which I went to partly because of the name, Mystical Studies. And so I ended up going originally just for the herbal portion. I have a long career, another career in heritage restoration with a background in historic archaeology, which doesn't seem like it fits, but it does. In a weird way, we are kind of like temples, and it's really about us moving back to our original blueprint, how we were born, and how we actually move back to that through reconnecting back into nature. So Bear Energetics was started as an energy healing and herbal business. I was still in school at the time, and I walked into my very first flower essence class, kind of coming from a pretty linear background, pretty scientific. I really wanted to go the herbal route, but flower essences had a different idea for what direction I was going to go. So I walked into my very first flower essence class with Lori Stott-Rogers, who's an amazing flower essence teacher, and she sells her own lines, which is called Prairie Diva Essences, and she also carries Flower Essence Society as well, which is one of the early flower essence companies in the world, probably one of my favorites as well. And so when I sat down in the class, I thought, okay, how is this gonna go? You know, it seems a little bit out there, a little bit floaty. And I had a bit of a mystical experience actually. And it felt like a zipper went up, like it just went woo, 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 woo. And by the end of the first class, I was like, this is it. I have done this many lives. It just like all the knowledge came back to me all at once. I've never had anything like this happen before. And it was like this incredibly deep knowledge. I don't know if anything like this has ever happened to you before. This incredibly deep knowledge comes in that I could read 500 books or no books. I could be trained or not trained. It didn't matter. It was just this inner knowing that I had with flowers, this inner connection. So I've been building that connection back in layers. I've been working in a clinical practice. Clinical basically means hiding for 10 years. And then in this fall, I moved to Costa Rica for 2 years. I worked with the flowers down in Costa Rica. So I have an extensive collection of flower essences from Costa Rica as well. So most of my essences are blends of Costa Rican flower essences, a lot from Alberta, and then I also am originally from Vancouver, so I have quite a bit of flower essences from the flowers in Vancouver as well. So it's basically like pieces of me in every one of these bottles. Building flower essences, a relationship with flower essences is about coming back to nature. It's about coming back from separation. And it's really a realization that we are just basically a piece of the puzzle of nature, and that slow coming back. Luckily for all of you, I'm a super slow learner, so I had lots of really big lessons with flower essences along the way, including a lot of the last probably 6 months have been some of my biggest lessons. So my basis of my work is on restoring people's temples. I do temple work. I do temple work in actual temples. So I work in restoration in physical buildings and then restoration of systems as well. And there is a long string, my entire life is spent about restoring our temples back. So I'm currently living in Calgary, and I continue to have a private flower essence practice. And then I also do teaching, coaching, mentoring with flowers, sound healing events. And then I just launched this line this last summer too. Okay, so today we're going to be going through what are flower essences, so you get a really good understanding of what they are from my experience. And so all of this is basically just going to be clients that have informed this information, and you're going to realize why. And also my own experience with flower essences as well. We're going to talk a little bit about the history. You'll be surprised at how old these are. They're actually almost celebrating their 100-year birthday, which is a big deal. And then I'm going to talk to you about how flower essences heal your body in new ways that we're just really starting to come into. Kind of quantum theories, ways where it's a little bit different in how we've healed our body in the past. So flower essences, very basic, are basically just the energetic imprint of flowers and water. I'm so glad you brought peonies today. Did you go to the peony farm?
Oh, no, my friend gave me this as a gift for doing my speech.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh, they're so beautiful. Yeah, peony essence is all about your heart. So basically, they are energetic only. So there's no actual plant material in flower essences, which is great for a lot of reasons. It means there's nothing regulating flower essences, which is wonderful, because they are just energetic. So there's different ways of making flower essences. Originally, the original person who made flower essences collected dew. He must have had lots of time on his hand. He collected dew from the flowers, and then he mixed that dew with brandy. That's the traditional way of making flower essences. The way that I make them is I use a mixture of either a flower in water concoction. So you put the flowers in water, you leave it in the sun for up to however long. Flowers will usually tell me when they're done. And fresh, always fresh, yeah. Or you can do a no-touch method as well, and you leave them on the plant. And so you just actually put the bowl of water underneath, and you slip it on the plant, and then that energy comes into the water. And so I'll explain why this works a little bit later, but it may seem like, how is this actually working if you're just dealing with energetics? So what's really interesting about flower essences is that after I started working with them, I realized that so you make your flower essence. Sorry, let me go back a bit. You make your flower essence. You mix that flower essence water with a mixture of water, and the traditional use is brandy. So everybody's brandy. I'm like, no way. We have all these wonderful distilled alcohols in Alberta by local craftsmen, and you're like, I made it from the hilltops of this Rocky Mountain. You're like, awesome. I'm putting that in my. So I always get like local distilleries. I tend to really like gin. I have half of my heritage is English, so I'm like, bring some gin in, and then I use hydrosols. Most of my hydrosols I get from Light Cellar, but there are other sources of hydrosols as well. And why I do that is because then they have a little bit of a flavor and they have that extra punch of the flower medicine as well. I don't necessarily use the same flower. Like if I make a flower essence, I might just put a totally different hydrosol, but it has to have the same essence of whatever medicine I'm making. So flower essence therapy and flower essences, when you buy them from different companies, there's of course Bach, which is like the OG. And then there's Flower Essence Society, which is one of the biggest ones. Another one of my favorites is Tree Frog Farm. Really like their essences. Prairie Divas, really nice. Senses of the Soul, Calgary based. They make some really nice essences as well. And they're almost like pieces of art because it's like your relationship with the flower and what you bring out when you connect with that flower. This is a channeling that goes on. And so you're almost buying original pieces of art. So I have some of my favorite channels, and you can take a look at them. They're kind of fun. Check out Iris on Tree Frog Farm. It's just they have a website. Or Lily of the Valley on Tree Frog Farm. Self Heal has a really nice one. Self Heal Distributing has a really nice one called Wolf Willow, but we have Wolf Willow in Calgary. A really beautiful channel for that one. And I really like One Willow Apothecary too. Asia Schuler, she does really beautiful flower channels as well. So you almost read them and you're like, oh, this is so good. So yeah, it's basically like this relationship with plant. Flower essences, originally when they were created, they believed that flower essences worked at the emotional level first. After working with them for 10 years, hundreds of clients, I would say that they actually work more at the energetic level. I would say that they're basically just like feng shui, but for your body. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So they work basically to dissolve energetic patterns that are not aligned to your original blueprint, your original template. So trauma happens, you have a coping mechanism that turns into an energy pattern, and then that energy pattern stays. And that can be why you, for example, like an addiction is a really great example of this. So you have an addiction and you overcome that addiction and say it's alcohol, and then you start becoming addicted to your phone. Well, you still have a pattern of addiction in your body. The pattern of addiction is what the flower essence is for. We'll work back for them. Yeah. How to use flower essences. So flower essences are safe for everyone. So all ages, children, pets, spaces. I use them a lot for houses. A lot when I'm working in any heritage building I go into, I take something to do with love and community and I'll put it into the basement without the owner knowing. And it just basically helps to realign you back to that original form. So as we mentioned, they're just basically made with water and preserved in brandy. And there's all different kinds of uses. The traditional use of flower essences is just by adding under your tongue. So you just do 10 drops twice a day. And we usually use them in cycles, so 28-day cycle. You can also put them in a spray. There's a lot of places that I'm working with, they're like, can you just turn this into a spray? For anyone who's sensitive to alcohol as well, you can do that. Just so you know, with the alcohol, you're only taking 10 drops, which is basically like half a mil of the water and alcohol mix, and you can dilute that as well. You can also put them in your bath. You can put them in your water filter. So it's a really great way to get the whole family or your partner on everybody's on the same essence. You can put them in paint before you paint your house, before you paint your room. And have a different sort of flavor essence to each of your rooms. Okay, history. So this is Dr. Edward Bach. He has a really interesting history. I'll make sure that I don't talk too much about him because it's quite fascinating. He originally was trained, a medical trained doctor from Birmingham University, and he specialized as a bacteriologist. He was actually involved in some of the earliest vaccines in the 1910s, and he inoculated a lot of soldiers when the influenza came in, when the Spanish flu came in. He was involved in some of those early inoculations that happened, which were apparently intestinal vaccines. In 1919, he started to develop homeopathic nosodes, which I don't know anything about. I'm sure someone in homeopathy knows about no-sodes, but I don't know anything about them. So he actually specialized in no-sode development and flower essence development. In 1928, so he was living in England, he developed the first Bach remedy. So these are almost 100 years old, beginning in 1928. Between 1928 and 1930, he developed 12 essences. And so what he did is he and his partner Laura rented an arts and crafts cottage. And if you like architecture, arts and crafts is beautiful. It's beautiful, sort of like 1.5 story brick houses with palatial balconies on the front. And then he planted a perennial garden. And then he started to connect with flowers in a non-scientific way. And he was very adamant that he didn't want to connect to science, which is really interesting at that time. And he wanted to connect intuitively. Like, this is the 20s. And you're wondering what he's doing here at this house, developing all these flower essences. Nobody has ever done anything like this. I don't even know where he got the idea. But he developed his first 12 essences by 1930, and then he had 38 by about 35. Those 38 essences are still in use. So if you use Rescue Remedy for your dogs, everybody knows Rescue Remedy. Those are Bach. Those are Bach essences. I really like their little gummies. They have these little gummies that are super tasty. And they're really good for calming you down. It's your 5-flower remedy. It's a classic remedy that he put together in the 1930s. And really, honestly, I don't know if much more happened with flower essences than that, right? And part of that, because I have a history background too, and I can super nerd out on this, but I'm not going to. But part of that was to do with what was going on in our world, right? And so everybody talks about how can something that was created in the 1920s, 1930s be applicable to our world today? How it's so different now. But it's actually not. So he created the essence after the First World War, which was totally devastating to everyone. We talk about the Roaring 20s, there really wasn't as much of a Roaring 20s as we thought there was. It actually was a really tough time during that time. People had lost so many loved ones. I mean, an example in Calgary is, if you're familiar with the old Stonies, you know, the sandstone churches and schools, they stopped making them in 1914 because almost all of the Scottish stonemasons died in the war, right? So it shows you how devastating this was. And so we're in a post-COVID climate now, and you can see what's happening to our society. We are changing so much. It's such a time of uncertainty, right? What is going on? There's splashes of war happening. There's all these things that are happening. We are not different from what it was like during that time. And then of course, 29, the Depression hit, stock market crash. So he ended up dying when he was 50 years old, 1936, of spleen cancer. Spleen has to do with extensive worry. You know, like, this was a time of incredible worry in 1930. Nobody knew what was going to happen, and the war started. And then the 50s were, you know, we basically rolled out all this new technology. So busy. And then now I'm finding that people are really starting to say enough. We have enough noise in our world, and there's this peace that's starting to come in. There's this retreat. People are staying home. I don't want any more information, you know, right? So it's very similar. So his line, this is the themes of his line. It's written in his 1936 book. So he had essences developed for fear, uncertainty, insufficient interest in present circumstances, loneliness, oversensitive to influences and ideas, despondency and despair, and overcare for the welfare of others. Not different, right? So interesting. There also, during this time, was a great period of, during these uncertain times, this is where we evolve as humans. So we're in a great evolution right now. And this is what it feels like to evolve. Uncertainty brings evolution. So it also brings great periods of mysticism and new ideas. So in the 1930s, there was a lot of neat stuff going on. There was Edgar Cayce, if you know his work, super interesting. Florence Scovel Shinn. really, really interesting work as well. So there's a lot of sort of mysticism that was coming in the 30s, and it was this little period that just shut down with the war, and we didn't see it again. Yeah. So anyways, that's really interesting to see the time. Okay, we're okay. This is from his book. So this system of treatment is the most perfect, which has been given to mankind within living memory. It has the power to cure disease, and in its simplicity, it may be used in the household. It is this simplicity combined with its all healing effects that is so wonderful. No science, no knowledge is necessary apart from the simple methods described herein. And they who will obtain the greatest benefit from this God-sent gift will be those who keep it as pure as it is, free from science, free from theories, and for everything in nature is simple. I love that. It's very different from today. Okay, so now let's delve into how flower essences heal you. This is based on my clinical practice. This is what has been coming out, and there's no big book written on it, but it's just things that have come up over and over again in the patterns. There's three major ways that flower essence will heal you. The first is that they will dissolve energetic patterns. As I mentioned, it's like feng shui for the body. And so this, of course, works on the emotional level. Originally, they were designed for the emotional level, but it's actually the energetic level underneath. And I'll show you some examples of that as well. They also harmonize the body. So they bring your body back into that original blueprint. And then the third way is that they raise consciousness. Talk about that as well. Okay. All right, so the first one is about dissolving energetic discord in the body. So there is a new form, I'm calling this new, this is not new. It's a new form of medicine called information medicine. Flower essences are based on information medicine. Information medicine is essentially the science of our cells operate through an operating manual. And they receive information from external sources to tell the cell what to do. Okay. And so it can be something like, make cancer. Like that can be some information that the cells are doing. So the cells are just doing what they're told. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. That's the information that I have. So chemical medicine alters the chemistry in your body as a comparison towards a new outcome. While information medicine gives the cells new information so that that stimulus response has new information to work with. And they do that by flooding the body with single messages, with one message. I am loved, I am loved, I am loved. 28 days of I am loved. My love me tender, it's all about love. Flooding your body with love. After 28 days, what happens when the only message that your body is receiving is that I am loved, I am worthy. That's all it's hearing. It's like, oh, all right, well, let's start making some things different to show and reflect and re-stimulate that I am loved. I guess that's what I am. I'm loved. And so that's very boiled down. That's essentially what it does. So it's giving ourselves this new information so that it produces a different response. So kind of like affirmations, if anyone has worked with affirmations, similar to this way, but you're working with the body, you're working with the cells. You're actually, if you follow Beta Austin, follow Dr. Emoto, it's working with water in your body. We're basically reprogramming your water in your body. It's essentially what it boils down to. So flower essences flood the cells with new information because every flower has its own medicine. And the flowers are quite advanced. And that's why I gave you some of those topics to look at those flower essence companies, because you'll read it and you'll be like, wow, these guys are really, really advanced. They're talking about like kind of quantum information for the body. And these are the channels that people are getting. They're absolutely wonderful. Okay, so an example, I have a client right now who is working through PTSD from an assault. And she had years of therapy, years and years of therapy. And she came to me and she said, Laura, I am neutral on this assault. We've done so much work, EDMR, we've done reprogramming, we've done, you name it, I have done it. When I am in that instance of when it happened, I feel neutral. But the PTSD remains, right? And so this is an energetic pattern of a body that's caught in a freeze. You know, so an assault happens and you're actually caught in the freeze, right? And so your body then responds out of that trauma. And so we worked through a series of specific blends to help her release that freeze of that particular moment. And it was very difficult for her because she had to go back there again, feel those emotions, because those emotions actually were trapped inside of her. So a lot of times when you go through a 28-day cycle with me, sometimes it can be longer, a lot of emotions come up because those emotions have been stuck somewhere. And so, and we don't know how to deal with those emotions. Some people will say like, I have so much grief right now, I don't know what to do. And so I will help them through moving that grief out, because grief is huge, right? When that grief comes out, it feels like you have, you know, a giant world that you're birthing, because that's what you've been holding in. So we can work with flower essences in different ways. So you're not rebirthing the whole thing all at once. You're actually like a balloon, just letting a little bit of it go, right? So that's why I always suggest working long-term with somebody who has severe trauma. Let's just release that energy slowly, like a air coming out of the balloon, so that it's not all happening at once. Okay, so I'll give you a few examples of this. So the first one is shock. So what does shock look like when it's trapped in your body? So shock can look like basically trapped looping energy in a ball. It just loops and loops and loops and loops and loops. Some of the physical characteristics of trapped looping energy are addiction, OCD, Tourette syndrome, Parkinson's, PTSD. So it eventually comes into the physical. So what I do for that is I will bring in flowers that dissolve this. So they dissolve this ball of looping energy, and I do it slowly. So it's like kind of a slow dissolve. I also reconnect them. So I reconnect their head to their heart, to their stomach. It's a reconnection that needs to happen because a disconnect happened and they're leaving their body. And so that leaving your body can be a coping mechanism. It can be, of course, addictions can happen because that's a coping mechanism that gets you out of your body. You watch TV, all that sort of thing. Anything to get you out of your body from feeling those emotions. And then I ground, make sure that they are grounded into the ground like a tree. So what works really well are trees. Tree essences are great for addictions, especially chestnut. And chestnut is a Bach essence from the 1930s. It's fantastic for addictions. I also use psychedelics. I really like psychedelic. Again, it's just so, here's an example, one peyote that's not written very nicely, but peyote is another one that's really great as a psychedelic to help you move out of that state of just being stuck. Another one that's really common that we're just starting to see, and we're just calling it overwhelm right now, but I know this is going to turn into physical soon. Overwhelm is stuck energy. Okay, so it can be stuck in different parts of your body, but the physical would be chronic fatigue, burnout, MS, thyroid issues, gut issues, heart issues, anxiety. Those are all examples of too much information coming in. So an example is you're looking at your phone and you're taking all that information in, but you have a block in your throat, right? You're not speaking your truth. You're not saying something that needs to come out. So that stays stuck in your head. So then you can get migraines, you can get eye issues. So if you're not moving here, then it gets stuck here. If you're not moving in your heart, it can get stuck in your head. So I will bring in flowers that improve flow. So first I'll talk to them and say, okay, it sounds like you're not speaking your truth. So let's go through some exercises to help you speak your truth. And I'm going to give you something called trumpet flower, which is really great for releasing that stuckness in your throat. And then that overwhelm has somewhere to go, right? It's not just starting your head. And we are basically, Western society is walking heads. We are so disconnected from bodies. I also use like detoxes, like any kind of detox essence. So Usnea is a great example. Cleavers. So these are all herbal medicines too, but in the energetic form, they help to just bring that flow back in. Have the flow so that overwhelm has somewhere to go. And then the other one is toxic thoughts. Toxic thoughts are basically poisoned information. And so this can be cancer, depression, tumors, that sort of thing is from poisoned thoughts. So with that condition, I will bring in flowers that help to self-love. I'll use poison essences. So poison with poison, which is kind of homeopathic. I'll bring in joy essences, play essences, just something that takes you from one state to another state. Because when you're in a state of, say, depression, and you're thinking, I can only feel this way, and you bring a flower essence in that makes you feel a different way, you're like, oh, this is interesting. I'm actually feeling a little bit of play, a little bit of light. There is an opening, and then I work with the opening to make that opening bigger. So it's a process, but it's how you move toxic thoughts out. Okay, the second way, I think I'm doing okay with time, I've got 10 minutes, is to harmonize our bodies. So this is basically aligning us back to how we were when we were born. Before we inherited our mother's traumas, our father's traumas, what's going on in our ancestral line, our society, which is another whole thing. It's basically how our body was meant to function, taking us back to our original templed form. And a great example of this, I like to use this. I have a little bit of time, so I can talk a little bit houses. But we have an original historic house. People take the windows out, which were meant to ventilate the house. They didn't have air conditioning. So you have double hung. Vent from the top, you vent from the bottom. There's an airflow that happens. So there is just a natural way that that house stays cool when it's hot. And then we come in, forget that knowledge, and put in vinyl windows, seal the house out. The house needs to be sealed. And then the house starts to mold, right? It's too hot. People put an air conditioner in the window. You see a lot of historic houses, you see air conditioners. And I mean, this is the same as our bodies, but it's like you're putting these things in. So when I work with a client with a heritage house, they say my house is falling down, and I'm like, let's just change the windows back to wood. And then the house starts to function. So it's the same as our bodies. It's bringing our bodies back. What is your original temple? Everybody has their own. How do we bring that back? Okay. So we raise our frequency, we harmonize our body through raising the frequency of water in our body. Dr. Emoto, is anyone familiar with Dr. Emoto's work? Yeah, love him. I love him. And of course, Veda Austin. Do you know Veda Austin as well? Super cool. Yeah, her work is amazing. She basically just, if you don't know her work, she's just on Facebook. I think she's published a book too. But she basically will get people to put petri dish of water on top of a pitcher, and then she flash freezes it, and then there's an image of that pitcher underneath in the water when it comes out of the freezer. It's wild. So you can see here, this is Dr. Emoto's work. Dr. Emoto's work flash froze using emotions. And then he looked at the crystals underneath a microscope. And so if you are talking to your water and you're saying thank you, or you're saying eternal angel, I love you, you can see that it forms in a certain way. But if you say to your water, which is of course our body's 70% water, you fool, you make me sick, evil, war, polluted water, that's the crystals that form. There's nothing. So what you say to your body matters, right? And so that's why I love flower essences, is because they're giving you the information of like, you're loved, you're free, you're awesome, right? And it's just raising your frequency, it's harmonizing your body. And so everything has a frequency within your body as well. We measure everything in hertz. So 62 to 68 is a healthy body. If you have a cold, you go down to 58 hertz. Cancer is 42, which is opposed to death, which is 30 hertz negative. And so you can see how that illness can start to lower. And when you bring in higher frequency, there's an entrainment that happens. Vibrating, you bring higher frequency flowers. Aromatherapy is good for this, homeopathy, herbal, sound healing. all works on the idea of entering higher frequency to lower frequency, and then your body raises up to meet. So harmonizing body. And then the third one, which is, I think this has been my biggest journey. Now I came in with an illness journey, a very long, drawn out illness journey. And the raising consciousness has to do with us reconnecting back to our body. It really is, honestly, the most important thing about healing. Everything that is in the store, in the light cellar, will heal you 100%. But if you are disconnected from your body, it won't work. And I can guarantee that. And what has happened, especially in the 2010s, is we started to move towards more superfoods, more healthier living. People, you go into people's cupboards and they're on 30 supplements. And they're like, none of these is working. And it's, well, what is your body telling you? I don't know. I'm not connected into my body. Reconnect into your body. Holy Trinity. That's where we're moving back towards. It's the Holy Trinity, our mind, body, and our soul. And when you start to listen to your body, do I have time to tell a story? Like a couple minutes. You will move back, you will heal so quickly because you'll understand what your body is telling you. And I mean, I had a period of time, I'm going to shorten the story. I was very sick. I actually lost my eyesight over and over in periodic blindness for about 10 years. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to do 2019. I'm going to do 3 months of cleansing my body. That's going to fix me. My body was so sick from 3 months of straight cleansing. I did medical medium. I didn't care. I just basically, like, every day I was doing some form of a cleanse. I've never been sicker in my life, and my body was screaming at me. And every time I went to, check Google or whatever, they would say, oh, it's HERC symptoms. It's HERC symptoms. No, it's my body telling me to stop. And so it wasn't until 2022 when somatic healing really started to come in that I started to realize, oh, I haven't been listening to my body, right? And so the flower essences have actually gotten louder since I really started to get back into my body, because they're like, we heal through gentleness. We heal through peace. We heal through stillness. We heal. Our body doesn't necessarily scream until it needs to. And so if you can listen to your body when it's quiet, you become the ultimate healing machine. And so flower essences will help you. Okay. So that's it. Yes. So how to work with me. If you want to continue to work with me, I'll tell you a little bit about these essences as well. So I have 5 in the store, and all of these are geared towards basically general issues that my clients throughout the years have had. I have focused this line on energetically sensitive people, so people that feel things outside of their 5 senses, and to just help you manage them. So I have Love Me Tender, which is really great for self-love. If you are stuck in some type of fear or shock, then this one is really good, Trustful. And then I have Bubble Wrap, which is for energy protection. So if you work as an energy healer, it's really good to help fortify your field. I also have Pretty Face. That one is actually, I designed it for eating disorders. My daughter actually recovered from an eating disorder from the flower essences that I developed for her. And this one will just help you feel beautiful from the inside out, but has a lot more to it as well. And then Light Pillar is really a blueprint essence. So it's helping you get back to your core essence. So I have my flower essence line available here, and I'm going to be doing demos outside if you want to try any of them. I also do private sessions, so you can get my contact information outside. That's just a one-to-one session where I develop a particular essence blend for doing days for you. And then I'm just in development with the flower essence program as well. So it's going to be a 3-level course. So more of this, but in 3 levels, really in depth. That's going to be in person and online fall 2025. So there we go. Anyone have any questions?
Cool. what's the best flower essence? Like you mentioned that all of them do this, but for someone that has like too easily influenced by other people and wanting to connect to their intuition.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of different flowers for that. So the question is what would be a good flower essence to connect with someone who, again?
Is like taking other people's opinions on as their own, and they're really trying to find their own truth and like not be so easily
Not
influenced.
be so easily influenced. Okay, so if you're looking for something that is going to easily get you more into your own field, I would say you're gonna want to bring in like a fortification essence first. You want to fortify your field first. So your field is fortified and you're not as easily influenced. And then I'm going to reroute you into your heart. So I'm going to bring essences that get you into your heart so that you are aligned to your own truth. So when you hear things that are non-truth to you, it doesn't matter, right? So that's really important to understand that you are aligned to your own truth. And then because there's so much information coming in, we're almost being hammered by it. We're moving into this age of information, but it's really overwhelming right now. But you know your truth, it's just gonna fall away. That's the approach that I would do.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So I always thought that flower essences had to be taken internally to work.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you can put them in a spray or a bath or
bath.
a water filter or something. So how would they work if you don't take them internally? Like how do they have the same impact?
Yeah, so the question is how would you work with an essence when you're not taking it internally? So like a spray is going to work like on the energetic, because we have all these fields of energy. So they're going to work on your outer fields of energy, which are all connected to you as well. And it's almost like a perfume, like they sort of they will like essence the journey, they'll like flavor the journey. So you could put it into your wall and it's going to flavor that room of the with that essence. So it doesn't necessarily have
Healing, like you're inhaling the scent. Or
yeah. They work in the quantum, so it's kind of hard to explain. You don't necessarily need to take them internally, and you can use them in those different methods. And we're so used to just taking them off.
So if you're using it like in a bath or like in a spray or something, would you like, because you're taking it internally, it would just be a few drops.
Yeah.
Would a few drops in a bath be enough?
Yeah. So flower essences work like homeopathy, and less is more. Okay, so for my clients that have like very strong physical issues, I will actually use 1 drop as compared to 10 drops. Yeah.
And the heat from like a bath water wouldn't.
No, because they're just
Energetic.
energetic. Yeah, they're just energetic. And I think that's the hard thing to get through your mind too, because Bach's original method, he had 2 methods. One of them was a boiling method.
Oh.
And when I hear about that, I'm like, ooh, for our flowers. But it just really, it doesn't matter. They're energetic and it's intention. So you're setting the intention. You're working with affirmations and intentions. So these bottles are intentioned. I always seal that energy into the bottle. That's what you're going to want to do too when you're making flower essences, is you seal it into the bottle, and then that will just last forever. Because there isn't an expiration date on flower essences. Because how can you put an expiration date on energy? Oh, it expires in 6 months. Okay, how do you know that? Yes. Yeah, and all of this is still pretty new. I would say that I will have better answers maybe in 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I put them in a diffuser? And if I can, what kind of water do I put in?
You're going to want to use as pure water as possible, because that is diffusing into the atmosphere. So I like to use Canmore spring water. It's my favorite.
Which one's spring?
Canmore spring water. Yeah, because it's just coming straight from the mountain.
Yeah.
And so whatever you're diffusing, you just have to sort of think about what is the information that's going out.
Right. Yeah, and I can change the information through my own intentions.
Absolutely. Where I learned information medicine was, I talked to this, he does bioresonance, so he does one of those machines that you can do from anywhere, and he can tell everything that's going on in your body. He goes, Laura, I'm going to teach you something. And I was like, cool. And he knows everything about the body, right down to the DNA level. And he said, because I was in Costa Rica at the time, and we have access to nothing there. And he goes, your daughter, you can't get this medicine, write down what the medicine is, write down the dosage, write it on a piece of paper, put water in a glass on that piece of paper and drink the water. And I did it to my daughter, who didn't know. She's like, oh, thanks, Mom. For migraines, gone. Yeah. So,
I'm just curious about your favorite flower and what flowers say it's in a love.
okay, so my favorite flower, oh gosh, I love that. That's so hard. I do love anything that opens your heart. So I do love like roses, because I find that we're so disconnected. And so like, as we open our heart, it really just helps to improve everything in your life, because we're actually connected to the right connection. Heart. I'm a really big fan of like psychedelics and poison essences, like the crazier and kookier. Oh yeah, like,
What's an example?
okay, so Lily of the Valley will be a poison essence. Hollyhock, not hollyhock, what's that one called? My mom just sent it to me. Frostbite, like anything that if you eat, you die, like 2-steppers. The more poison, the better, and then I'll find when there's a couple of super poison one here too, and I'm like, yes. I just got corpse flower, you know, the stinky flower that is a Edmonton retard. I just made a flower essence of that. And corpse essence, the flower blooms once every 7 years. But the essence of it, when I channeled it, was about reconnecting you into this deep well of energy that you have been missing. So, you know, if you have chronic fatigue and you just run out of steam by like 12, the corpse flower will reconnect you into like a stream of essence. It's really great for regeneration. Yeah. So like, and you never know what you're gonna get when you download it. I also really love agave. That's one of my favorites. Agave that connects you back into your grandma's energy. You know how your grandma like loved you unconditionally? Well, or someone in your life who loved you unconditionally, and that kind of energy that, you know, they bake cookies for you and you like, you know, get in a fight at school and your grandma's like, still, that kind of energy. Yeah. So many.
What about for dogs?
Okay, yeah, dog.
Your bulldog.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. So depends on so we're talking about flower essences for pets. So anxiety, is that the anxiety? Yeah. So it depends on the type of anxiety, but I would probably use, if it's fear-based, I would use aspen. Aspen is a Bach remedy, it's really good for fear. Any of the mimuluses are really good for fear as well. These are all Bachs. And that depends on the kind of fear. So yeah. And then if you have any looping behaviors because of that fear, chestnuts are really good. Oh, yeah.
Are decoctions good for, like, if you're making some of your own essences and stuff like that, decoctions are the way to go?
Like I just started adding essences to my herbal remedies as well. So totally, like I have reishi decoction and just add in flower essences just for that little boost.
Right.
Especially if I don't have the herbal. I have about 75 channeled flower essences, so I'm like, sweet, and then I just add that in as maybe something that herbal remedy can't actually look at, and it works really well. Yeah, it's that.
You said something quite interesting and important. In a promise, you said like everything by the light colors can heal you. And you said also about connecting with quantum and knowing yourself. I think that's really important. A lot of times, you know, we come to something and we hear those wonderful things, and what am I going to go get myself, right? And you know, you have to go back to that basic, that until you know yourself or the person that you are working with, that's kind of your first step, whether you feel quantumly connected to yourself or have someone that's able to do that for you, because not everything will heal you. Everything here will heal. There's something there that can heal you, but you can't go out and buy whatever, because you can also really injure yourself or damage something. You happen to have a liver problem, and you're going to take something that's supposed to be healthy, but really will harm you. So you need to start with that, working with somebody or really being in touch with one is going to the other. Still, it's very old.
It is a very,
So you might hear someone's experience and say, oh, that worked for them, I want to do it. But $200 shirt,
yes.
and it's for you, and that goes back to our first versus experience, where somebody said, oh, I promise you, this is gonna work, and you know, she done psychosis, right? So
Absolutely.
you really do need to be careful with what you decide to do and really get to us to help from something that.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so great. It likes that people will help you
Yeah,
with
because
that.
what's good for me isn't good for him, or you were, you know, but there is something that is good.
Absolutely, and really it's coming back to yourself and knowing your body really well, knowing where your blockages are.
Or somebody that is trained.
Absolutely, it's so hard to see yourself, right? It's so hard to see your own stuff, and yeah. We heal in community, really what it comes down to, we heal in community. Yeah, good company. Okay, last question, then we have to wrap.
On that note, like I kind of remember in school, Malcolm, right, that like for the flower essences, they're different than other kinds of tinctures and stuff, because like there's gonna be a lot less interactions with pharmaceuticals or with health conditions, whereas like I never heard of like any interactions at all with flower essences, because they're more energetic and like, do you agree with that, or?
Oh, 100%. And what I also like, and this is the question about it, whether you agree with that, like mixing these with
Herbal preparations.
herbal preps and yeah, and even Western medicine, absolutely you can. And what's really great about it is you can set intentions with your, so a lot of people are like, oh, I have to be in a Western med. Okay, that's okay. You know, use a flower essence with it or set an intention like this is totally gonna help me and I'm gonna get off this as soon as I need to, right? So it's accepting to your body so that your body and you are in your holy trinity. You're going back to like, we're all on the same page. Something we need to do right now. And it's, yeah, it's intentional medicine.
Last one.
Okay.
What is the essence of dandelion?
Or anger, yeah.
What's that?
Anger. Yes. So deep, like, so it would be like liver, gallbladder, like any kind of stuckness, frustration. So just moving out. Anger. They're not that far off the herbals. Yeah.
All right, well,
All
thanks so
right.
much, Laura.
Thank you, sir.